Good people YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and I found out a couple weeks ago that my local Seiko AD is shutting down, and that meant watches were on sale big time. So I was sad, of course, but I had to check it out, and I ended up with my first ever Sumo, the PADI version, which has always been a watch that I've been curious about, but never really got around to, despite having owned 20 plus Seikos. So yeah, that definitely needed to change. So in this video, I'm gonna go into the dimensions, what it's like on the wrist, the beautiful case and dial, and I'll also go over my thoughts about my first ever Sumo experience, which has been fantastic, but I'll be selling it and I'll explain why. But if you want more info about the sale, check the pinned comment and the description. But anyways, let's just get into it. So the case itself is extremely comfortable, which is what you would expect from Seiko, and especially from a case that tapers inwards like this, so kudos to Seiko there. But this is easily the biggest wearing watch that I've worn from Seiko, and it actually might be one of the biggest wearing watches that I own right now, and that's because of the very long 52.6 millimeter lug to lug, but it's also because of the lugs are quite chunky. That said, because of the 42.4 millimeter bezel width, it does help it wear a bit smaller than the 44.8 millimeter case width, and the dial is basically the same size as the Captain Willard, which does help quite a bit. So it's definitely an experience, but not one that everyone will like. It would be super cool if they ever release a smaller 42 or 40 millimeter version of this. I think it would do really well, and I would love to get one. And I guess I can say here, because I think this is the first time ever that I ever wished that a watch with 20 millimeter lugs had a wider lug width, because I always prefer 20 millimeter lugs for pretty much every single watch out there. But when I put 20 millimeter straps on this Sumo, it just looks so dinky because the lugs are very wide and the case is wide and the case is also very long, and then there are these little tiny straps just popping out. I don't like the way it looks at all. That said, thankfully the rubber strap it comes on goes out wider and then comes back in, so it looks spot on for this size of watch, and it's quite comfortable on the wrist because of that. So overall, no complaints here because I do love the strap. And it's really these reasons why I'm selling it. It wears great and comfortably, but it's amongst my big divers, so when time comes that I want to wear a big diver or a pure tool diver, I will likely go for my other options like my Tuna, the Pelagos, or my Zen U50 Hydro. And you'll see why exactly I love this watch and would love to get a smaller version in the next section, but I have no regrets because I am a Seiko nut and I got to experience a very unique and special Seiko diver, but I just know that it won't get enough wrist time, so it'll be better off with someone else who will give it a good life. So I have to start off with the case and bezel because these are what struck me first and struck me the hardest, because I think that this case and bezel combo is amongst the best I've ever seen in watches. Starting with the case, it reminds me quite a bit of the Marinemaster 200 case when you see it from the side and from the top or bottom, due to the swooping lines that move up and around the case side, and it's amazing to see, and it's one of the main reasons why the Marinemaster case is my favorite case. In classic Seiko style, from the top going down, the case tapers out to a brushed line and then it tapers back inwards down towards the wrist, which allows the case to wear smaller than the numbers would suggest visually, and on the wrist as well. The lugs are far more chunky than the Marinemaster 300 style lugs, and the lug to lug is much longer as well, which gives the watch much more presence on the wrist, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how big you want your watches to look on your wrist. But there's no denying how special this case is as it transitions from polished to brushed to polished again, and the way the case curves around. But the main reason why I'm so in love with it is the fact that the somewhat conical bezel, which in and of itself looks fantastic, sits inside of the case, which is something that isn't seen very often. Your fingers have full access to the bezel at the 12 and 6, which is okay for me since that's where my fingers naturally go when I want to rotate any bezel. But as you move to the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock sides, you can see that the case continues up and over the bezel, and this leads to the sides feeling super smooth because there are no breaks effectively from the top to bottom. So when you see it from the side, it takes a second to realize that, oh wait, there is no visible bezel really, and yeah, I just cannot get over how well executed the design is. And to think that the more basic versions of the Sumo used to really be affordable but still had such an awesome design, just bravo, Seiko. And yeah, the move upmarket is unfortunate for many, but to me, it does make sense because this case design is it's definitely worthy of a higher price as well. But of course, it would be better if it was cheaper. But onto the bezel insert, and it is ceramic here, and since this is the PADI version, the markings up to 20 are lightish blue and the rest are white. And I love this new generation of PADI design way more than the Pepsi versions from back in the day. I love that the bezel matches the hands as well, with one being light blue. And now the dial, the next best part of this watch and of this new generation of PADI watches, because they all have a subtle globe motif, which is, again, subtle, thankfully, so it doesn't crowd the dial at all, but the lines of the globe are debossed into the dial and it's very visible. You can see the shadows being cast, and I love seeing this dial in different lights just because of those shadows once again. Just overall, I think that this dial makes a special edition just that much more special alongside the handset and the bezel. Speaking of the handset, it's got the Sumo handset that's arrowy and they are legible. The hour hand is a matte silver color and the minute hand continues on the light blue theme, and it matches the color of the bezel numerals to 20 minutes, which is a nice little detail. And I just really love it when different design cues connect in a very elegant way. The hour hand has a split that goes halfway up the hand, which matches the half split 12 o'clock marker, which is yet another nice detail connecting things. And the bottom of each hand is matte black, which adds to the tool watch nature of this watch. And the seconds hand is fully blacked out other than the top tip and the loom, which is all you really need when you're trying to check the seconds hand, which I think is a nice subtle detail. This particular Sumo is the PADI version, so it comes with a navy blue accordion rubber strap, and this type of strap is found on other Seiko divers as well, and I love it. It's soft and well sized, and the buckle looks pretty cool. And I know that some people don't like the metal keeper, but I've never had any issues with it, so I'm all for it. It levels up any watch that it's on. And the only issue for me is that this is basically the only strap that can work with this particular watch. Well, I mean, this and the black version of it as well. Or if you find a strap that notches outwards and then goes back inwards to make the strap look wider. And I mentioned this before, but that's because as much as I love 20mm straps and as much as I think that 20mm lugs works on basically any watch, it just doesn't work for this particular case, even though it works perfectly fine for the Marinemaster 300. All normal 20mm straps that I put on this watch just look tiny on a watch with this big of a footprint, and the long lug-to-lug doesn't help it at all because the strap ends basically look like they disappear off the wrist. It's unfortunate, and I do think that the bracelet does work a bit better when I tried it on, but I guess it's time for me to look for more 20mm straps that flare out a bit. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about the Sumo, and if you want to buy it, check out the details in the pinned comment and description. And until the next video, good day.